It is a chilly morning here in Ohio for this time of year, especially since it's been nice all week. Raining or otherwise, it's still been warm. It is 52 now, around 10 degrees, 10 and a half degrees here in Ohio. And I'm on my way into the barn quick. Ava and I are on our way into the barn quick. I want to train the 5 horses. 5 of the 7 I train slow. Or I trained fast on Wednesday. I want to train slow today just to see how they are. Now, I watched them jog on Thursday. They seem fine, so I have no concerns. But I do want to get a feel of how they are feeling. They over on the shaft? Are they a little warm? You know, a little tight over the back after their hard training mile? Or are they just fine? And I suspect it's going to be the latter. They'll be just fine. Now, man, it was an action-packed day, and I'm not talking about the racetrack. I'm talking about everything else. So yesterday, went to the barn, and I knew I kept watching the weather app because it was forecasting an ungodly amount of rain to come out of the skies, the meadows, and they weren't wrong. It was a lot of rain. By the time I get through my first drive, we'll talk about all the drives in a minute because there was quite a bit more going on. By the time I get through my first drive, I was soaked. And I think I had like 8 or 9 more. It was a long, long, wet night. So as I'm on my way to the meadows, as you guys know, there's a lot going on this weekend. Ollie had baseball, so Amy was on her way over to that. Our car, we were trading our car in my Cadillac in on Monday, so Amy was driving that home. And I get a call just as I'm driving into the meadows. Now, when Amy calls, and you can tell when your wife, there's a little anger in her voice or a little frustration or a little concern. She called me, and I thought when she first started talking to me that she was just going to be late. You know, she was running tight of time with the traffic on the QEW and at the border, and typical Amy because she's a super punctual person, almost like myself. She was just angry that she was getting close to being late. But that wasn't it. She said somebody ran into the back of the QEW. Now, everybody was fine. Obviously, my first instinct was, I pulled the car over and I said, what exactly happened? She said, there's traffic stopped at the, I assume, for those of you that are in Ontario, that bridge going into Hamilton and Burlington, from the QEW, I think they call it the Hamilton Skyway or Burlington Skyway. I don't know. The last bridge before you get to before you actually get to Hamilton and Burlington. Turn left, right. I said, "Are you okay?" She goes, "Yeah, your car's wrecked." "What about the kids? Okay?" She said, "Yeah, everybody's fine." She goes, "Even the dog's fine." Cruz was in the back. If you've ever seen my car, you know that there's not a lot of trunk space, you know, just to get in the back and lay down. There was enough room for him to lay down. Amy put a seat down, so there was enough room for the dog, but not the dog in a half-ton truck. Not a lot of room for that. So I didn't even want to ask because, you know, she's upset, but I said, "Dog okay?" She goes, "Yeah, he's okay. Can't kill Cruz." So obviously I was a little shook up. You know, we're talking, you know me, you know, races start at 5:10. I'm almost to the track. It's 4:45, 4:50, 4:55, something like that. I have enough time, especially now it's pouring rain. You know, I got to drag all my mud gear out of the car, go in, put it all on. There was a voice in me, obviously. As a husband and a father, I just wanted to turn around and go to Ontario. I'm 4 hours from where she was. I said, "Honey, what do you need right now? What do you need from me? Are you sure you're okay?" She says, "I'm fine. The kids are fine. The dog is fine. The car is wrecked." There's a tow truck on the way. The police are on their way. They said, "Well, you need a rental car." She goes, "Yeah, just give me a minute." So I guess the tow truck driver, who apparently was the coolest guy on earth, was pulled up, you know, calmed Amy down, put the car on the, you know, once the police arrived, put the car on the hoist, lined up a rental car for her. Well, obviously Roadrunner there behind her. That's the one that's going to pay for the rental car, his insurance company. And I've been there too, so I'm not judging anybody. Obviously, just a little bit of a scare as I got to the track, and then obviously I was fine. And now I'm going out with Grand Slam Dio, and it is teeming rain. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe I should be on my way home. Maybe I should be going home. Problem was that Ava was at the house in Brunswick. So my options were race, drive all the way to Ontario, pick up my wife and kids, and my dog, and drive all the way back to Brunswick. Or drive all the way back to Brunswick, get my daughter, and go all the way to Ontario. If I did that, next question, what about Saturday afternoon? What about Saturday night? What about Sunday night? Holly has baseball on Sunday, I think. Definitely has baseball on Monday. What should I do? So this is all going through my head as I'm jogging around in the pouring rain. We go to the gate, Grand Slam Dio. I told you guys she was getting better. Now I thought it would be, it's funny how horses are. Because you think there's going to be, and I told you that, it's going to be baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. And it's almost like a light goes off. Now, the track was hard with a lot of water on top of it. So you look at that, it's a great line, 56-1 in the slop. But the track was fairly firm. But she was super professional. Like, earplugs in, drove off, 1 by 8. And you could tell coming to the half, if you watch the video close, she's still green. She doesn't get on the front very often. And she drifted out where the gate was a little bit. I said, hey, tapped her on the tail, and she was gone. Won the race easy. Now, somebody messaged me and said, geez, you're kind of hard on that filly. You got her back in to go Wednesday. Well, the problem is that the class is written on Wednesday. She didn't get in last week's non-winners of 1 fillies. She got in the non-winners of 1 that was written for Thursday, but they carried it over to Friday. So the Wednesday class got carried to almost to Friday. So if you wanted to race next week, you still have to enter for Wednesday. Our thought process was same thing as last week, especially now that you're coming back in 5 days. She either won't get in or they'll carry the class. They didn't. She did get in. Now, I'm not worried about Grand Slam Dio. She's a very athletic, very good, very sound filly. I'm not worried about her coming back in 5 days. And last night's race, although it looked fast, was well within her comfort zone. If you watch her going through the wire, her ears are up, she's looking around, the earplugs are still well inside them. I'm not worried about coming back in 5 days. In fact, it ends up being a feather in our cap because she wouldn't have fit the maiden any longer. So it turned out, accidentally, that we double entered because they carried it to Thursday. That draws on Monday. She's not eligible to that class anymore. The only way she would have gotten in that class on Wednesday if she got in on Wednesday, which would be before the draw at the Meadows. So, lucked out a little bit in that regard. Still got to go win. She's, I suspect, going to be heavily favored, but still got to get it done. Now the wind is blowing, the rain is blowing. And as the night went on, it got a little bit worse. But I will say this: the pouring rain at least kept the mud. Like I told you a second ago, I had a rock in my eye. I was trying to pick a rock out of my eye, and Ava said, "Oh, you got to pull your eyelid down." I said, "Honey, I know I've been doing this for 28 years. I'm well aware." But the mud the other day was worse. See, when it rains, and then stops raining, you're left with mud. But when it's raining hard like that, it packs the track down and the water just runs off a little bit. Now you're just wet. Just wet. And it was actually better. I do prefer the pouring rain over the slop, I guess. And it was pouring rain. I was just saturated the whole day. Saturated. I don't know if you watch the races, but you can tell I leave with a lot of horses. I'm an aggressive driver, but I don't like racing in the rain, and I left with every single horse that I was on yesterday. Every single one. Somebody may have made reference to it after the races. but it ended up being a good night. Like, looks like money, 8-hole. You know what I did notice was whether it was the track, whether it was the weather, I don't think it was anything other than that, and I'm obviously referring to the thumps he had a few weeks ago. He wasn't quite as razor sharp. I was okay and reserved with the thought of putting him in a hole going around the first turn. In fact, as Ronnie's advancing on Dave, I'm thinking Ronnie's going to keep going, and at that point, it was 50-50. I might have just dumped him in the 3-hole. You know, he doesn't need to be on the front every week, but when you're favorite, you're certainly not going to get away at the back unless you have to. And generally, everybody's looking to put you in a place to follow you. And at that moment, if Ronnie had kept going, I would have dumped him in the 3-hole, and I would have stayed right there until halfway around the last turn or head of the lane. It just didn't play out that way. Ronnie dumped in the hole. I kept going. Dave followed me. He didn't feel good. He felt like he did the day he got the thumps. He didn't. We checked. But, you know, just soft in the mouth around the last turn. Didn't really pick the bit up. Now the track was chewed up. It was raining hard. It was windy. But it was for everybody. And a good claim by the guy sitting in the 2-hole. They claimed that horse for like 30 grand out of the Poconos. Johnny Yoder. So good claim by him because that horse raced good. Now, Money didn't have a ton of fight to him the last eighth of a mile last night, which he usually, if you watch the race, he went in 52. He just screams out of the turn, and he's all business the whole way down the lane. Last night, he came out of the turn, he sprinted forward for 4 pylons, and then it was just kind of neutral or mostly neutral to the wire. The horse went by me, I looked around, there was nobody else coming, I just left him alone. The horse can't be razor sharp every week. I certainly wasn't razor sharp last night. I can't blame him for not being razor sharp. But he raced good. Finished second again. So a good mile for. And the other good thing is, you know, that horse, he claimed him for 30. He won the Open at the Meadows. But that ensures that Open fills, right? You get the Burke horse, you got that new horse coming in. He'll be there full time. So it ensures that, I guess in all likelihood, the Open is going to continue to fill. So that's good. That's a good thing. Delicious Stone, Chris Christopher just drove him, kept him off the list, raced him on the end of it. He looked sounder to me. He looked comfortable, where he didn't. You know, the night he made a break on James, it was obvious he was about to make a break. Even in the qualifier, he looked a little bumpy. But last night, he actually looked good. So good job by Chris. I know he didn't get any money, but at least we kept him off the list, got him tight, and now next week he'll be ready to rock. And then Yo Mister closed out the evening. Race good, 52 and a piece. I just tuned into that race. My eyes were, although they weren't near as bad as they were the night it was muddy, they were still a little uncomfortable. And when I looked quick at the video, it looked to me like it was a little muddy, but I couldn't tell. They went 52 and 3, and I thought Yo Mister raced good. So again, a good job by Brett and Stacy with Yo Mister finishing second at 52 and 3 at Scioto. So as I said, a pretty eventful day. It's not going to be an easier morning this morning. I have to go in here, train these 5 horses. I have to leave in exactly 1 hour. I have to be out of there. So I don't know if I can actually train 5. But I'm going to train what I can and get out of the barn. I have to get to the Meadows to train last trip Memento Mori around 10 after, a quarter after 11 with Tim. I want to see how he is. I don't want to go fast with him, maybe a mile and 2.5, but I want to see how he is, get a feel for him, see how he's trotting before the races start. Now today, we just have Tenacious and Patrick DePrana. I think I got a few horses to drive also. Those are the two. Tenacious got a decent shot off last week's mile. Patrick again drew the outside. Man, it's frustrating. So we'll see what kind of a mile we can get from Patrick. Then tonight I have to go back to Northfield Park, but I also get to watch Trosa race. This will be his first start back after just to see. He wasn't off at the time, but I want to see what his scope looks like after. If there's blood and mucus in there, this will be Trosa's last start until probably September, which is perfectly fine. Roser and AJ makes his first start. Our first ever start in the state of Maine will be tonight at Cumberland Racetrack in, I believe it's in Bangor. I'm not sure, Bangor, Maine. Walter Case Jr. Never had one of our horses driven by Walter Case before. I met him I know I met him before, but I met him in Plainridge last week and spoke to him for a little bit, and you know, Mark was there and Aaron was there, and everybody, you know, all the guys that are old enough to know how dominant Walter Case was when he was crushing. It was it's always cool to talk to those people, and obviously Walter's a little bit older now, but still got a good set of hands, and he'll be driving Rose Run AJ tonight from Post 8 in Maine. Rose Run Alexandra, we changed her shoes. I thought she trained good. She is in the sale on Monday. A number of people asking me what our thoughts are. What do you think she'll bring? Well, somewhere around claiming price. I mean, she's still a well-bred, good-looking filly, and only has 3 wins. She's eligible to the Buckeye, the Sire Stakes, and I believe some fairs. I don't feel there's any issue with Rose Run Alexandra, but at the same time, you know, once she's out of this class, well, it gets a little tougher. And if you've noticed with Aunt Lily, and Freedom Hill's a little different because she only has 3 wins. She can fit in the condition claimer, but it's tough to find races for those horses right now, right? We also have Mounts for All double dipped. He's in tonight. He actually graduated from that class on Wednesday, but because they had already drawn Saturday, he was eligible to the class still at the time of draw. So he's back in tonight. He is in the preferred sale on Monday. Both Alexandra, him, and Never Lose Felix are in the sale on Monday at preferred. And Time Is on My Side will cap off our night, our first major stake race of the year. Sure, we raced in the SBOA and some Sire Stakes and the Bunker Hill, so I guess that's not true. Racing the Bunker Hill, but this is the graduate. This is the top level for 4-year-old pacers in North America. So I'm hopeful that Time Is on My Side does well. And also on Sunday, we got a great lineup. Vehement's picked to win Spitfires, like 5-2. I'm interested to see how he'll do again. Greatest Endings in a great spot, coming in sharp as attack. And Neptune again, he's got a win and 2 park the whole way thirds. So I think the plan and the math is pretty easy. Just don't get parked the whole way and you should be okay. So that is everybody up until Monday. Now Monday I'm going back to Ontario. Curtis has been asking me to do the twos in training sale, twos in training updates for Harness Racing Update. And I've been putting it off. I just couldn't do it. And he'd asked me, he said, listen, we got to get this done. I said, okay, I'll tell you what, I'm coming home to watch Oliver's baseball game on Monday anyway. So why don't I just come home a little earlier? We'll do the twos of training video, and then I'll go to the ball game at night. He said, perfect. So that's the plan for Monday now, is for me not to be here. That leaves Blue Ventura. Tyler's going to get to drive on Blue Ventura at 3-1, and Admiral Dio, he's going to get to drive on 25-1's a little false for Admiral Dio. Just go right out of there with him, get him away in a good spot, and race the horse. I wasn't able to his last start. I got him in a good spot the week before, but the horse in the front, who ended up being the heavy favorite, just collapsed and walked in front of me. So I'm sure he'll be fine. J.K. Victory and Resolve Indeed also race on Monday. So lots of racing coming up today. Ava and I are going to do the videos. Unfortunately, Amy and I won't be able to do the opening video this week. We're in 2 different countries. But
I'll do the opening video.
You'll do the opening video with me? Okay. Ava's going to do the opening video with me this week. We'll have all the videos done today, for sure. Really happy with everything that has gone on, except the homicide of my car. But that happens. It's not the end of the world. We'll get past that. I'm just very happy that Amy and the kids and the dog are all right, and seem okay. So that's good. And you know, I think it's. I'd like to say also, not that it matters, but I like the fact that Oliver made it to his baseball game last night and played. He didn't get there till like the 4th inning, and of course, everybody in the team knew he was just involved in a car accident. So the boy gets involved in a car accident, still goes to a ball game. And I'm thinking, well, you know, just go there and support your team, you know. Be seen. They put him into play. He gets a single in the 5th inning, scores a run, and ends up playing in the field for the rest of the game. So I like, you know, as I said to Amy, I like the tenacity. I like that work is first, right? Get your job done. Worry about everything else after. And that's something that I always took very seriously. I never missed work because I was sick or because I was hurt or sore. For those of you who have been with us long enough, when I broke my wrist, of course I come back a little bit early. As soon as I could get it done, I got it done. And I think that's very important. And I don't mean to be the old guy ragging on the next generation or generations, but it just seems to me like a lot of the kids that are of working age well, I shouldn't say everywhere because I haven't been everywhere, but a lot of the places I've been seem to me maybe lacking that drive. Too many of them looking at the time clock and not enough of them looking at the job. And I don't mean that to be listen, we have lots of younger kids that have worked and work for us that work hard. So that, I guess that's a pretty general brush and a little unfair to paint with it like that. But I don't want my kids looking for a reason not to get their work done. Look for a way to get it done. And the fact that Ollie went to that game and played last night, and I didn't make him. I didn't make him, but I did. Like I said to Amy, if he could go, that would be great, and he was all for it. He got to the game, he played. Not only was it a 5-hour drive in traffic, but involved in a car accident, which for some kids obviously be a traumatic incident. But as it turned out, Ollie was able to turn the page and get the job done, and I was very, very proud of him. Very proud of him. So, with that, I'm going to let you guys go. It is still overcast, still chilly, 52. Chilly morning here. I'm going to put my spring and fall suit on, I think, and I'm going to head out to the track, train as many of these 5 that I can get in the next hour, and then head over to go with Maury, race this afternoon, come back and race tonight, and that's it for Saturday. But Sunday, I'll get to sleep in. So take care. Have a great rest of your Saturday and weekend. I will talk to you all in all your videos. I'll give you an update tomorrow, but I'll talk to you in all your videos throughout the next 24 hours. Take care, everybody.